This year I'm going to play one JRPG every month, and at the end of the year I'll rate them from 1 to 12. So far I've played Kingdom Hearts 3 and the PS1 classic Final Fantasy 7. Now it's time to move away from Square Enix games. Hi everyone, my name is Adzi and welcome to my critique of Pokémon Mystery Dungeon Rescue Team DX on the Switch. Jeez, that was a bit of a mouthful. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel for new game and videos every Sunday. Hope you enjoy the video. Pokémon is the largest multimedia franchise in the world, and while the mainline games are unrivaled in their popularity, we can't ignore the spin-offs, and some of these games are fantastic. The Mystery Dungeon series is easily my favourite offshoot of this franchise, and while I've never played the original Rescue Team games, I've played some of the later iterations on DS when I was younger. So this game is a remake of Red and Blue Rescue Team, and without the originals to compare it to, I'm going into this game completely blind. I think the first thing that we have to mention in this video is the art style. This was the thing that caught my eye when I saw the game first in the Nintendo Direct, and I'd imagine it's what had most people excited for the remake. The original sprite-based art of the GBA and DS games was really good, and I think they did the game a great service in opting with this art style, both in gameplay and menus. The opening menu is just so well drawn and it captivated me from minute one. I mean, the main menu comes with an admire illustration button, and I think it shows how confident the devs are in their art, because I can't think of another game that has a button dedicated to admiring the art. Even in gameplay, the brushstroke art looks fantastic and all the Pokémon models pop in the dungeons. The game starts in usual Mystery Dungeon fashion with a personality quiz. Ask a few questions and they choose your Pokemon for you. They chose Mudkip for me, but I really hate Mudkip's design, so I went for the second best water starter, Squirtle. Piplup is the best water starter, by the way, and I'm willing to fight anyone who wants to dispute that. I chose Pikachu as my partner, mainly because the other choices didn't really appeal to me, and you can't go wrong with the series mascot. And I certainly chose right because I think the Pikachu is pretty OP. The story from there is wake up confused as a Pokemon, find your partner, and eventually start a rescue team to help all your Pokemon friends in need. Pretty basic plot in the beginning, but it quickly becomes the typical JRPG trope of saving the world from impending doom. Nothing wrong with that, but I don't really think the story itself is all that great. It's just used as a device to carry the game from one area to another, while the characters interact with one another. Now the characters are another story altogether. You have your go-getter partner who doubts themselves every now and again, a Caterpie who becomes your biggest fan, the town's strongest rescue team consisting of Alakazam, Tyranitar and Charizard, and the evil bad guy, Gengar. Just like Pokemon is baby's first JRPG, this game's characters are a beginner's guide to character tropes. Nothing wrong with it, but it's just something that has to be mentioned. The characters were interesting enough to keep me playing till the end. The wholesomeness of this game is off the charts, and that is one of the best parts of playing the game. After playing Final Fantasy 7 with its doom and gloom plot, and Doom Eternal which has enough gore and heavy metal to fill me for a whole year, it was just great to play a happy-go-lucky game with bright visuals and a real emphasis on teamwork and friendship. Now let's talk about the gameplay. This game actually surprised me with its depth. I'm not sure if I ever noticed the depth of the previous games, but this game feels way more complex than the ones I played back in the day. For anyone who has never played a Mystery Dungeon game, they are turn-based dungeon crawlers set on a grid tile system. So every time I move, the enemies move, and every time I attack, the enemies attack. The only thing that dungeons share are the names and themes. The floors are all randomly generated, so no two floors feel the same. I absolutely love this system. I'm a massive fan of roguelikes, so these elements really appeal to me. I found myself loving the combat and doing loads of side quests in between main story missions, sometimes going a few days without touching the story and just exploring the random dungeons. The combat itself isn't very complex. In typical Pokemon fashion, each character has 4 moves and you can have up to 3 controllable party members. This is where the complexity comes in. You can have a team of any 3 Pokemon, all of which can mix and match moves of various types, so the combinations are endless. My party consisted of Squirtle, Pikachu and Growlithe. The third party member changed as I went along, from Growlithe to Absol to Rhydon. I could have switched it up a bit more, but I just stuck to this party for most of the game. Now the difficulty is something that I think plenty of JRPGs struggle with, but not this game. There is an element of resource management at play in the game. You have limited inventory space that you must fill with equipable items and consumables. Some of the dungeons are pretty tricky and you should come well prepared, especially in the second half of the game. You carry healing items, status effect items and PP up, which is basically this game's version of mana potions. On top of all this, you have to keep an eye on your hunger meter and make sure you have enough food to keep your Pokemon's belly full. You have to be really well prepared for the later dungeons that are 20 plus floors, usually with a hard boss fight at the end. I was pleasantly surprised by this game's difficulty. I was afraid that it would be another autopilot job like Final Fantasy VII, but it wasn't the case in this game. I got my arse kicked by the final few dungeons and had to rescue my team with a ragtag group of Pokemon that I chose based on their level. Doing this was really tense. My Pokemon fainted on floor 20 something of the magma caverns and I loved creeping through every floor, avoiding as much combat as possible to make it back to my party. There was a lot at stake and I loved this aspect of the game. There are plenty of other systems at play here. It made my time in the dungeons and in the town preparing for the dungeons interesting right till the end. The town has plenty of things in it. It has the usual stuff like item shops, storage and banks, but it's the other parts that had me spending loads of time here in between side quests and the main story. So we'll start with Gulpin. This mad looking fecker takes care of your moves. You can forget moves and relearn the old moves in normal Pokemon fashion. Some types link better than others. So on Pikachu for example, I had Grass Knot and Thunder Shock, which destroyed most enemies in my path. Linking moves can get really broken, so I advise for any hard boss, bring a link box, link 4 moves and you'll be able to kill them in no time. The dojo is the game's answer to boring grinding that we see in most JRPGs. It's a really great addition. You choose a Pokemon and farm enemies that are weak to their type, and you can level up rapidly so you can easily swap out Pokemon, not having to worry about them being too underpowered. The last thing in the town I want to talk about is Wigglytuff. You buy camps from her and these are the areas that you need to have to recruit certain Pokemon. So for example, you need to buy the Wild Plains to be allowed to recruit Rattata. Now this system I really didn't like. You recruit Pokemon by killing them in a dungeon, and then they have a random chance of them wanting to join your team. The join rate seems relatively low, so this combined with the fact that you need to buy the camps made this kind of frustrating. I can't count the amount of cool Pokemon that wanted to join my team but couldn't because I didn't have the camp. I'm sure other people don't really have this problem with the camps, but I wasn't a fan of them. With all the gameplay out of the way, let's talk a bit more about the story. Just as you become a Pokemon, loads of natural disasters happen. Gengar is the main villain and he turns everyone against you, saying that you're the cause of all these disasters. So then you have to run away from the town while an angry mob chases after you. Along the way you visit icy caves and fiery mountains, all with their own legendary boss fight. Some of these are actually tough, but again, once I learned about the link boxes, you can cheese the boss fights pretty easy. Eventually, you're allowed to go back to the town after some stuff that I honestly can't really remember, and to be honest, I didn't really care that the story wasn't all that memorable. This sums up the game's story perfectly. I can't recall most of it, but I still really enjoyed my time with the game. So when you get back to the town and reveal Gengar to be the fraudulent bastard that he is, you have to save Alakazam's team from Groudon, and then go kill Rayquaza and save the world. This is where it happens. So I'll let you in on a little secret. Bromances are the only thing that really gets me. I've only ever cried at a movie, game or TV show that had a bromance in it. The bromance in this game between two cute Pokemon was just too much for me to handle. And in the end, after defeating Rayquaza, you get transported back to human form, and seeing your partner crying as you fade into the distance just got to me. It didn't last too long because I was quickly turned back to a Pokemon, and this was such a nice capstone for a great game. I wasn't expecting this game to make me emotional, considering the story wasn't all that great. I was surprised that I felt that much of a connection to my character and his rescue team partner. I highly recommend this game. Nothing too heavy, Just a nice wholesome game that was really fun to play. There's loads of post-game content that I'm yet to tackle, but if it's anything like the last couple of dungeons, I'd say it'll be quite challenging. I might go back and play it in the future, and if I do, I'll do an extra video talking about it. I hope they go on and remake the other games in the series because I would love to play more. So that's March's JRPG out of the way. Now on to Final Fantasy VII Remake, and then on to a more traditional JRPG in Ni no Kuni Wrath of the White Witch. Thanks for watching, I really appreciate your time, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you all on the next video.